see. Ah. Schwanz, you're recording already?
Oh, I'm recording on the. I think you can record too. Can you record?
Well, recording. But now, well, we are recording to the cloud. Maybe if I don't have access, maybe you can send me the link later. So, good evening, everybody. Good morning. Hello, wherever you are. Welcome to this week's Monday's Zen and Zazen class. Today I will talk about Sawaki Roshi's To You, but before that, let's sit together for half an hour.
大家晚上好。我们前面还是30分钟坐禅，然后后面今天我们讲祖母老师那本书，然后坐禅以后我们分析那本书啊。
Thank you for joining. Today I want to talk about maybe one of the longest quotes in this book. It's a whole page. If you have the book, it's on page 29. Sawaki Roshi says, "A person who understands things is a person who doesn't let himself be misled by his personal fabrications and karma. People who don't understand things are constantly looking for distraction. Sometimes they fall in love, sometimes they get drunk, sometimes they dedicate themselves to reading, sometimes they do their sports. But they do all of this only half heartedly in order to somehow deceive themselves." It still continues for a little bit, but maybe up to here. It's basically what I try to always express with this metaphor of playing a game. Since the age of 3, 4, 5, since we were able to say I, me, mine, since we understood that tomorrow is just another day, we play this game. And here he uses this kind of, well, funny expression, somebody who understands things. Basically, I think what he means is somebody who really, well, sees clearly through the game. That's somebody who doesn't let himself be misled by personal fabrications and karma, basically by this game that we constructed, this construction of the game, winning, losing, uh, collecting points that we all share since a certain age. But those who don't see through the game, they constantly, well, play the game, and it has lots of aspects like falling in love. Getting drunk is also a way of playing the game and trying to, how do you say, take a break from the game, but not in the way that we do here, by for 30 minutes just stopping completely and just being here. And Sawaki Roshi continues, "Spending our daily lives fooling ourselves in this half-hearted way is what's called life in the floating world." Floating world in Japanese is ukiyo, and also ukiyo-e are called these wood prints that they had in Japan until 200 years ago. They became quite popular in Europe also about 100 years ago. Ukiyo-e, kind of pictures from the floating world. But here Sawaki Roshi uses the phrase to refer to what I call the game, life in the floating world. That means that our wobbly legs are carrying us off track. We don't stand firmly here at this place in this moment. All the nations of the world are stupefied with boredom. That's why they say right, left, march in step. And next thing you know, the children are fighting over their toys again, which in this case means war. People wheeze from exhaustion their whole life long without even knowing that they're wearing themselves out for what they don't, without even knowing what they're wearing themselves out for. It only seems to them as if they had a goal. In truth, there's absolutely nothing there. Only our grave awaits us. We can only be at peace when we understand things as they are. When we understand things, we see the universe with a single glance, and the seam between ourselves and the universe vanishes. So at the end, Sawaki Roshi explains what he means when he says to understand something or not understand something. Uh, he means, well, we're connected with the universe. We're not one player on the playing board, but we're the whole board, so to speak. You are the whole board. It's not about winning or losing on the board. You are the board. When we understand things, we see the universe with a single glance, and the seam between ourselves and the universe vanishes. Okay, up to here. That's what Sawaki Roshi says. Maybe Xuan-san, you can translate.
今天这一节应该是这本书里面最长的一节了，然后占了这一整页。我简单给大家翻译一下，就是前面那个泽木老师说，我们人如果能够明白他自己成为一个人，是他能够从自己制造出来的，或者是从他自己个人制造出来，或者是他之前我们所说的业里面所误导的那个他，也就是他能从自己所制造出来的那个业和误导的比较个性化的那个情况中，把自己抽离出来。然后我们人们能够明白这些事情，好像人们不明白这些事情，是因为我们好像总是在寻找一个方向。有的时候呢，我们坠入爱河；有的时候呢，我们会喝醉酒，或者我们好像很认真的读书，想要取得什么成绩，或者是想要取得什么成功，或者是就是有一些时候呢，大家在做体育，就他们自己的运动。等等这些事情，我们好像一直在寻找一个方向，但是，人们好像只做这些不是全心全意的时候，也就是当我们只有没有这么全心全意的时候，好像才能真正的收获我们自己，或者是以某种形式才能真正收获自己。我们花我们我们花日常生活，或者是我们花所有的时间，好像一直在让自己很愚昧，就是在这种半心的状态下，好像很愚昧。我们把这个称作呃世界的一个浮萍，就好像我们生活在这个世界的呃泡影当中，或者是它这个漂浮这个英语单词，就好像我们生活在一个漂浮不定的一个世界里面，然后我们总是抬起腿来去走，带着我们好像走进哪一个轨道。所有就是这个世界的一个自然的现象呢，其实呃是让我们不是从这个不是从大家一起走的这个方向，是往左还是往右，就好像行军一样，你是往前走一步，是往左走一步，还是往右走一步？然后这些你下一步的事情，我们其实都知道，就好像就是这些小朋友们，他们好像在为了这个游戏，就好像那些小朋友们在为了游戏而发生争吵一样。然后我们总是会好像在生活的这个压力或者是劳累当中喘息，不会，好像不会，我们总是好像穿着一个身份，就是意义啊，好像我们总是穿着一个我们带有身份的这个自己来知道一些什么东西，好像我们没有这个身份以后就不知道，我们应该知道的东西一样。嗯，只有在这些时候，好像假如我们有一个目标，才能够做我们自己，或者是做他们自己。事实上是，其实什么也没有，就是就是好像我们有的这个身份，有的这个穿上的这个自己，好像什么也不是，就是没有什么意义。呃，所以只有当我们勇敢起来的时候，才能够看到那个一直在等待的自己。然后我们只有在平和的时候，或者只有你在很平静的时候呢，才能够真正明白我们到底是谁。当我们 真正明白的时候呢，我们就看到了这个宇宙，我们是会从我们就会从一个角度，一个简单的角度，一个简单的观察的角度来看到这个宇宙，或者看到这个世界。呃，当我们和这个宇宙万物，呃，成一体的时候，我们就可以看到它，大概是这个意思啊。就是这一段很长，然后泽木老师说的也非常隐晦，就是他总是用反句在说。然后老师刚才解释，就是说，其实我们人从小三四岁的时候，大概大家就有了自我的意识，就已经分出了你我还是他，然后就已经有了这个分别了。然后我们工作以后呢，好像也有了一个身份，就是你必须好像在一个身份下面才能看清楚任何事情，好像必须我们得有一个什么标志，穿上什么衣服以后才能够做一些事情或者明白一些事情。但是但是好像当我们这样的时候，好像认识到的那个自己，好像又是一个非常有局限的自己。我们很难就像坐禅一样，真正的安静下来，放掉我们一直穿那件衣服，从游戏当中退下来，然后从一个本来的角度来看这个世界。大概是这个意思。老师可能还要继续，我们看看老师下面怎么说啊。
Thank you. There's two more quotes in the fourth chapter, which are shorter, but also, if you have questions at this point, it might also be a good time to start the FAQ, the question and answer session, if you have questions. If not, I can continue with another quote. Any questions? Anything you would like to share? If not, well, let's do another one. The next one is about the meaning of life, which is one of my kind of favorites, one of my favorite topics. Sawaki Roshi says, "We were simply born and we simply die. And you ask about the meaning of life. You ask what Zazen is good for, whereby you'd have no right to complain if you had died already last year. Isn't it clear from the start that life is good for nothing? It is simply coming and going, that's all. Your problem is that there's something in you that just can't accept that." So here, Sawaki Roshi basically says that the question, what is the Zen good for? And what's the meaning of life? They are related. Basically, it's the same question. You're never content with just being here in the moment. You always need a goal. It needs to be good for something. What I do today, it needs to be good for tomorrow, or I want to have some results in 3 years and 5 years. But what we forget in that moment, the game's gonna be over sooner or later. Even if there would be, well, a meaning to your life. For example, to have children and grandchildren, but we all know that humanity is gonna disappear from this planet. The planet's gonna disappear. So if you only live for the future, either your future or the future of humanity or the future of the planet, it's all gonna disappear. It's all gonna disappear. So what's the alternative? The alternative is to live right now, to be in this moment. And that's basically the point of Zazen. We don't do it for something, but we return from this game, the game of always playing this move for the next move to be better than the others, to win. We return from the game, and for half an hour, we just are. We just are. And ideally, you would live your whole life like that. You're born and you're gonna die, and now you live. You live this day, and tomorrow you live tomorrow. You have maybe 70, 80, maybe 90 years. Just live them. And I sometimes say, thank God, thank Buddha, there's no meaning to life. Because if there would be a meaning to life, you could never live today. You always had to live for tomorrow and day after tomorrow and maybe for the next life and the next life after the next life. But thank God there is no meaning in life, so you can live just this present moment fully. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about your next life. Live this life fully. That's how I understand this quote. Okay, Schwanzan, after your translation, if you have questions, please feel welcome to ask them.
后面这一段呢，是老师最喜欢的这本书里面最喜欢的一部分了。就是泽木老师说，我们其实只是简简单单的出生，简简单单的死亡。如果你要问生命的意义的话，其实就好像你在问，坐禅是为了什么是一样的。我们没有权利去抱怨。然后，如果你已经在去年就死亡了的话，如果你去年就死了的话，其实你是没有权利来抱怨的。所以这不是很清楚的，就是从我们一开始生活，生命到底到底为了什么？就是生活，你的生命到底能有什么好处？其实我们从一开始呢就不是很清楚的，但这又是特别的简单的，就好像我们就是简简单单的来了，简简单单就走了，仅此而已。所以你的问题呢，就是其实很多时候，你没有，我们其实很多时候是在你自己，你所问的问题，就是比如说你问生命的意义，你问你生活的意义，或者你在抱怨生活，其实你的问题一直在你自己当中，然后你没有真的，你没有真的察觉到它，你没有真正获取这个信息，就是大概就是我们没有真正意识到，其实问题在于我们本身，就是而且我们本身也是我们一直追求的这个问题。就是老师说，呃，就是这一段儿是老师最喜欢的一个。其实这一段儿就是告诉我们要活在现这一刻，就好像这个游戏早晚要结束，就好像虽然你会有后代，你会有孩子，孩子会有孩子，然后你会有孙子，孙子会有孙子，但是我们所有人都会明白，这个宇宙或者这个世界早有一天会走到尽头的，不管你想承认还是不想承认，我们不应该活到将来，因为将来都会消失。当你活到将来的时候，其实现在也在你现在的这个现在一直在流失。所以，其实泽姆老师就是告诉我们，要活到当下。这就好像坐禅的意义一样。泽姆老师特别有名儿的一句话就是说，坐禅其实什么没有意义，坐禅也不是为了什么，坐禅其实就是让我们能够停下来，感受现在这一刻，因为当下的这一刻永远比其他的时刻更美好，当下的这一刻永远比其他的时刻更有意义。所以，如果是今天的话，今天就活到今天；如果是明天的话，那就让明天活在明天。有的时候，我们应该感谢神，或者说我们感谢菩萨，或者说我们感谢佛陀，因为生命是没有意义的。因为只有生命是没有意义的，我们只要过好现在就好了，不用担心将来，不用担心来世，也不用担心它有什么意义，只要过好现在，就是最好的事情。大概是这样。
Thank you. Any questions? Anything you would like to share? Nothing? Perfect. You don't have to. You don't have to. But yeah, Joseph, Julian is raising his hand. Please, Julian.
Just a practical question. Is there an easily available copy of the Japanese text of this online somewhere? Not, I'm very glad to have the translation. Thank you for the translation. But I just wondered if there's just to help my intermediate Japanese and Zen interaction.
I don't think there's an online PDF version. This one is the old edition, but I think there's a new one. In Japanese, it's called Zen Nikike. Zen Nikike. And the title is still the same. but the cover looks different now. I think there's a picture of Sawaki Roshi on the cover now.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm not quite sure if it's still in print, but I think you could still get it over Amazon also.
Okay.
Although I doubt that they have an ebook. I'm not quite sure, but probably it's only a printed version that they have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Cool.
Any other questions? Joseph, please.
I was just curious about he keeps on saying in this text about, oh, you ask, what is Zazen good for?
Yes.
I was just curious, like, who is this addressed to? Like, who are these written to? Because I thought, am I right in thinking these were like in newspapers sometimes that were published, his writings? But sort of my impression was at that time, it was very rare for people who weren't monks to practice Zazen. So yeah, I was just wondering, like, who are these largely written for?
Well, this book, or well, the one that the English version here, these sayings were collected by Uchiyama Roshi. So I think Sawaki Roshi, he visited Antaiji once a month for the sessions to give talks. And I think most of these sayings come from the talks or stuff that he said in the interaction with people that came for the sessions, or maybe the monks that lived in the monastery. So it's not something that Sawaki Roshi intended for the broad public. It's not something that he wrote in a book or in a newspaper. It was collected by Uchiyama Roshi, probably first of all for himself. And some of these actually, Uchiyama Roshi, a disciple of Sawaki Roshi, published in a newspaper, and those you can also get in English under the title The Dharma of Homeless Kodo. So that's some of these quotes with sometimes a little longish comments by Uchiyama. And that's something that Uchiyama published in the newspaper after Sawaki Roshi died.
Oh, okay, that's where I was getting the idea about newspapers from, yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else you would like to share? If not, I would like to thank you for participating. Next week, I'm going to get back to the Fukan Sazengi, Dogen Zenji's manual for Zazen. We're getting close to the end of that text, but probably it's going to take me another 2 or 3 times. So I wish you, everyone, a good week. If you like, come back next Monday. See you again. Thank you also, Schwansan, for hosting us and translating.